Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast.
Taking
And now,
behind my back.
stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel, and with me, I got my guy, Kay. And I know I sound a little too pumped up after witnessing our team go on a 4-game losing streak. But listen, man, I'm still gonna be in a good mood regardless, bro. Because you know what? We just lost to Denver, and I was talking about this with Kay on before the show a few hours ago. It was somewhat of an encouraging. Well, I know we don't like moral victories, but the Heat went in, and if it wasn't for a Reggie Miller, or no, a Reggie, what's his name, Jackson, take over to close the game out, we probably would have. It probably would have been a close game, but still, like we said before, we ain't gonna take the moral victory route, but overall, bro, we're going against Detroit, so we're gonna end the streak real soon. At least I hope so, bro. Like, do not put it against me if something happens, but God is with us, okay? God is gonna be with us in Detroit, and we gonna get the job done. But we'll talk about the Detroit game later. Anyways, the Heat lost 4 straight. Especially this past Sunday, they lost to the Wizards, which I know got everyone heated up because it's the Wizards, for crying out loud. We made friggin' Kyle Kuzma look like an all-star, and it's never a good type of scenario whenever you got something like that going on. And then we go into this game against Denver, and I don't know, like I didn't want to say it simply because of the fact that I needed this streak to come to an end as soon as possible. But any game against Denver in the regular season feels like it's scheduled out, because the last time we beat them was back in the bubble. And before we did that, the last time we beat them was, I think, or did we beat them before that? I think we might have won a home game against them, but
I'm not sure about that depth of the history, but I do know that they've won 12 of the last 13 against Miami.
okay. So then there we go then. But yeah, I mean, listen, Denver, it's always a scheduled L. That's why, well, you know what, and we can probably talk about it on the show, what we also mentioned on the call, but Denver, them folks is full of menaces, bro. If we could not play them in the finals, God is good. One thing I will say, and we was talking about it and I don't want to go too much into potential finals matchups because we literally in the month of March. But bro, okay, do you want to mention what you was bringing up? Oh, you know what? We'll talk about it when we pass the mic to you. But overall, I just want to say, yeah, this losing streak has been tough. Especially losing to the Wizards, losing to Katya's ex, and then you go out there and then you lose to the Nuggets too. Katya, yeah, Tyler's baby, yeah, okay, the baby mama's ex and stuff. Oh wait, you on mute, by the way. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but I think you on mute.
Oh no, I was on mute, but I'm glad. I'm like, wow, I'm aware.
So yeah, it's tough, but I still got a smile on my face, and I'll explain why later on. Because if y'all think we're gonna be in a bad mood even after this losing streak, y'all guys messed up, because things gonna change, man. And I ain't gonna say the energy about to shift, because only losers in Boston say that, when they get ready to lose in the playoffs. So I ain't gonna try to say that exact quote. What I will say it's gonna be that time real soon. All right. I know Jimmy said it already is that time, but my brother hasn't really went out of his way to, turn it on just yet. So I think he just made a little mistake, but it will be that time real soon. Heat fans, just be very patient. So with all of this being said, I just want to know, Kay, what's your takeaways after everything going on with this losing streak?
Always hate to lose. You always want to see the Miami Heat go out there and get W's. That's the reason you play the game. Like Herm said, you play to win the game. I mean, you don't play for L's. However, it's the rigors of the season, man. It seems like every year near the end of the season, the Miami Heat experience some sort of adversity. unless we get into this part of the year and they're coming out of an extended adversity. Like it's just how this thing goes for the Miami Heat. It's never going to be all bubble gum and rainbows. And with the February that they were having, this is exactly what was bound to happen. But when you see the downtick they took as we've begun and gotten through the first part of March here, um, it's going to be just as glorious when they come back from this because I have full faith that that's what they'll do. At this point, you look at what's going on with the Miami Heat, and it kind of coincides with Bam struggling a little bit for the last couple of games. Now he did find it again in the Denver game, and of course, as you mentioned, the Denver game was a very winnable game with about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game until Reggie Jackson decided to go nuclear, hit 3 big shots back to back to back on crucial possessions to give the Denver Nuggets the insurmountable lead, which would take them to a 10-point lead with like a minute or so, 2 minutes left in the game. Just more than the Miami Heat could overcome at that moment. But for the most part, the Miami Heat were right in that game, and they were right in that game due to the performance on both ends of the ball by Bam Adebayo. You look at the performance by Jimmy Butler, and you look at the performance by the rest of the team from a shooting perspective, and you wonder, could they have given you more? And they certainly could have. And you expect that they will moving forward. It's just one of those things where we have to be patient enough to understand that when it all comes together, it has tended to do that. And that this team will do the same. The pieces are there. They're as deep as we've seen them in the last couple of seasons, even with everything they've done. We know what Jimmy Butler's going to be once the playoffs start. We have no reason not to believe that until he shows us that he's not that, until he shows up to the playoffs and isn't that. Then you can't really question, what he has going on. Yes, you want to win regular season games, but even in a loss, like I said, those things that you take away from the Miami Heat, what they were able to get done, they're all positives. I mean, losing is a negative. Point blank, period.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Butler doesn't go 100% in the regular season. We understand that. That's not something that revealed itself against Denver on Wednesday night. Now, Nikola Jovic had his lowest scoring game of the season. Bam Adebayo found his rhythm again after 3 or 4 games of poor play. And the game before that, it wasn't necessarily poor, but he still wasn't playing well either. Washington. And then you look at what he was able to do against Jokic on the defensive side. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say Jovic. Shout out to our young guy. But it's all positives outside of that. Like I said, Reggie Jackson, as you mentioned, as I've insinuated, Reggie Jackson came down, he hit 3 big buckets, 2 middies and a 3-point to counter those 2 middies. That kind of sealed the deal, but it wasn't all bad at all for the Miami Heat.
Right. And I mean, I'll say this, like, a lot of people keep bringing up this stat, right? Like, folks are mentioning, oh, the Heat are 2-16 this year against the top 4 teams in the East and the top 4 teams against the West. And, like, I wanted to mention, what some folks brought up, like, it was John Jablanco who mentioned this on Twitter, like, one thing with the Heat is like while they are 2-16 this year, which is a difference compared to how they were against teams the year before, where they were 12-12 against those specific squads. I don't know the exact metric this one fan used when they tweeted this thing about how the Heat were 2-16 against the top 4 teams, and if he's talking about the top 4 teams from the previous year, if he's talking about those specific teams from the year before, I'm not completely sure. But yeah, anyways, you look at this tweet from John Jablanca, and he mentioned something that I do want to bring up. He mentions that this year against those teams that we mentioned, he's averaging 19 points on 46% efficient field goal shooting, 52% true shooting with 23%, true shooting with 23%. I believe that's what he meant. Yeah, 19% on 46%. Okay, I can't read exactly this completely well, but overall, basically the dude ain't playing that good against these squads. But if you look at last year, he does mention that Jimmy did go and average 25 points, 53% from efficient field goal, 61% true shooting, and then 26% usage. I think that's what he meant to put on that previous tweet. 23% usage. So overall, man, when you look at it, like there is a difference. That right there, like what we saw from the Jimmy Butler that went 12 and 12 against those teams, that's what you see when there's a Jimmy Butler that's ready to go. And it's that time Jimmy, I guess, whatever you want to call him, playoff Jimmy, whatever. There's a difference between that and then the Jimmy you got yesterday. Like you can't look at this stuff and just immediately run off with it. And that's what's funny about this Heat team. It's like I understand we're kind of a weird team because for a team that made it to the finals 2 of the last 4 years and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years as well, the way how we act in the regular season, we clearly don't, show off as that type of team, bro. And it's no secret, and that's why it's a weird situation that puts people in the scenario where they can't really talk about how good this Heat team can be every now and then. Like, I know some people are gassing us up now, and people are trying to say that Jimmy Butler's the only man that can save us from the Celtics. I want to let it be known right now, oh, y'all better shut up. Okay, I love Jimmy. That's my dog right there. But shut up if you're not a Heat fan, because y'all not finna give my dog this what's what I'm looking for, this Lamar curse, as people been calling it, where y'all finna put him on this type of pedestal, especially when some of y'all been talking crazy about him these past couple of years. I see the tweets, bro. I just don't have the brain cells to be fighting with y'all. So with that all being said, I know I'm low-key going off topic, but shut up with the Jimmy Butler save us agenda, because I'm not dealing with that. Okay, he not saving any of y'all. We don't give a frick about any of you guys. Frick y'all. Okay, we are focused on winning a championship, and that's it. Frick y'all team, and frick y'all parlays. Okay, we do
Stop
not
saying frick, man. Stop saying frick. Stop
we don't
saying
care about
frick,
none of
bro.
y'all, bro. Frick y'all. All right, like
I'm
y'all
going back on mute.
listen, like you motherfuckers trying to put Jimmy in this tough situation right now. He gonna do whatever the hell he wants to do, and he gonna help us win that championship. Not because he want to save y'all, but simply because he can and he will at the end of the day. Anyways, but back to what I was saying before, though.
Yeah, shut the frick up.
Exactly, K. Exactly. Y'all heard it here, man. Y'all gotta shut the frick up. Talking all this talk about Jimmy need to save us, this and that. Okay. What I was trying to get to though is when it comes to this Heat team, bro. I know we kind of weird, but like it's always been a thing. We're able to turn the switch. That's why some of these teams they still make these moves here and there because they're scared about the Heat. Like look at what the Bucks did, bro. They was the 2 seed at one point, 30-13, I think, when they went and fired what's his name, Adrian Griffin. K, why would they do such a thing, bro? Like you would think like a team that went and was dominating basketball, at least when you look at the record, they don't have any reason to make such a abrupt move like that because they was very comfortable sitting at the 1 seed last year, and then we saw what happened. Jimmy basically went up into them and said, okay, y'all time is up. Y'all the 1 seed, props to y'all, but we taking over from here, and basically hijacked the whole plane and led that team to led the Heat to the finals that year. So that shows like these teams, they don't feel satisfied with what their records are, especially when it's time to go against Miami, because a team like Milwaukee, they not making that type of move if they have to fire, if they, how do I say this? They are not firing Adrian Griffin if they feel confident against teams like the Heat and Celtics. And I know Boston feels good right now because they have a great record and they have a good squad, and I'll give it to them because they've played great basketball this year. But so much things has to go right for them because this Heat team is always going to play tough. And I understand people going to mention they're 3-0 against Miami. They blew us out earlier this year. As we mentioned on that live stream day we did. They blew us out by Larry Bird, I think it was. So, a lot of things that they did, and I'm not going to sit here and try to downplay the Celtics because we know how good they are. But at the end of the day, we also know how good Jimmy Butler is. If y'all, let's say this, last season, before the playoffs, if you were to say that the Heat was going to beat the Celtics in the series, a lot of y'all thought we was crazy. If y'all thought that we would go into Boston, win the first two games of that series, and then go back to Miami and win game three to make it a 3-0 lead against the Boston Celtics, a team who allegedly had what people called a well-rounded roster last year, people would have thought you was crazy for thinking that and thought you was delusional as hell for even trying to put that out there. But we went and did that. And people can talk about Tatum's bum ankle in game 7, but that was game 7. Okay, I ain't heard about no bum ankle in games 1, 2, and 3. So what is it? So we were able to do that. And that's why, and I know some people, sometimes I worry that maybe I'm looking back too much at what we did last year. But at the end of the day, the injury bug has bitten this team, which is why we are 2-16, as this one fan wanted to tweet. And it's also because of that reason where you look back on the Jablanka tweet, Jimmy ain't exactly playing the type of basketball we know he's capable of playing. But when he is, and when this team is at 100%, and I'm talking about when Bam's not in his slump, when Jaime ain't hitting the rookie wall, and when we know Caleb is playing like that same Celtic killer that was one vote away from being Eastern Conference Finals MVP, when our guys is out there doing that, we are capable of going back to the finals and potentially winning a championship. So do not get this stuff twisted, y'all. I know everybody kind of negative right now, and it sucks because I never wanted us to go on another losing streak after the nightmare that happened back in January. But here we are, bro. But take a deep breath, do what you got to do, go relax. But we're going to be fine, man. And we're going to find a way to win the championship this year. Not because I believe in this squad. I believe in Spo. Use everything that happened last year with this Denver series. Use it to your advantage and show people why y'all are capable of winning it all this year. Because people been sleeping on y'all. People see what y'all have been able to do these past couple of years, but yet they think it's fool's gold. They look at the fact that we made it to the finals in 2020 and they said we was bubble frauds. Well, then guess what? 2021 was a fugazi year. We don't care about that. 2022, we go back to the conference finals, one shot away from going to the finals, okay? And then the year after that, everything doesn't look good. We run it back. People think we're going to be a bad team, and we end up making it to the play-in, but yet we still find a way to mess around and go back to the finals. And yet, despite those accomplishments, folks think that it's nothing more but lightning in a bottle. It must be a huge bottle we capturing this lightning in because we still finding a way to find the success. So that's all I got to say about that, really. One last thing, and I'll say that, and I'll pass the mic to you, K. The Heat, come on, bro. We gonna be fine, man. Listen, I understand, these losses be hitting me, right in the gut, which is why, I think, we did, HVTW, analysis, today.
That's crazy. I'm sorry. That was crazy. Don't say that no more.
Wait.
Don't say
we
what
did.
Don't say what the losses be hitting you at no more because that was crazy. But go ahead.
Oh, okay, man. Your head in the gutter. I don't know, bro. But listen, the losses they hurt, bro. Okay, they hurt. So
Like a mug, bro, like a mug. Especially
yes,
losing to the Wizards. I get it. And I mean, you guys have to hear the way that Joel calls me. Like Joel be sounding like I gotta check on him. Like, Joel, you good? And it's almost like I can't hear him because yeah, I'm good. And it's really painful. So when Joel said that they hurt him, they really hurt. Continue, brother.
I need to take time to heal after some of these L's, man. You would have think
you should have got the reaction video last night. Let's just put it that way.
Bro, I felt like I was just such a mess mentally and I couldn't handle it. I was just in a depressed, I don't know, bro. I ain't gonna say depressed because I was probably at the brink when Derek White happened a few months ago. People was blowing my phone up and stuff and I wasn't answering because I was just not in a good place mentally, bro. I was just trying to go to church the following Sunday and then try to figure out what life would be if the Heat was to have potentially lost that game 7 because I couldn't fathom the idea that we were going to be the first team to potentially blow its 3-0 lead. So I was in a completely dark state of mind and I needed to take some time to realize the important things in my life. But we're not at that point right now though. Okay, we're not at that point. Okay, we gonna figure it out, Heat fans. We gonna figure it out. Sorry for that tangent, but K, the mic is yours. Say what you got to say.
I mean, look, I really have nothing more to add to that. I think you really did a good job of highlighting the things that we had discussed pre-show. From a quote unquote production of topic standpoint, it's really that simple. When you look at this Miami Heat team, you go back to the things that we harped on about the Denver game. This Miami Heat team has shown you a lot of positive things. Yes, they've shown you negative things and bad habits that have existed. But these are bad habits that tend not to exist with teams that are locked in once the playoffs start. Even back to the whole Jimmy Butler and Jablanca stat. What also is down in the games this season is his usage.
Yep.
It would be one thing if his usage were equal or even or above maybe, and the numbers were still down. His usage is down just as well as the production is. So equitable to his production in those other years when his usage was higher, he made good usage of that usage. Not to use the word and defining the word, I hate doing that. But what that speaks to is the point of when the playoffs start, and as I said time and time again, when it matters the most, his usage is going to be at his highest, higher. And based on those numbers, based on all we've ever seen with our eyes, based on the Miami Heat during the Jimmy Butler tenure, when he decides that he's going to be that guy, and when the usage increases, the production is going to increase, and therefore the Miami Heat are going to win. You specifically look at teams like the Boston Celtics, who this whole conversation came up surrounding, and, you know, there is something to be offered there too about things not necessarily being conducive to a style of play. The Miami Heat do want to get you into a more of a grinding game if they can. That's their style, and that bites them in a regular season pace that wants to see the games go up and down. But in the playoffs, when things slow down a bit more, this Miami Heat team is going to be well seasoned, well accustomed, as they always are, and well prepared to execute in those moments. And along with the more combustible Jimmy Butler, which we do expect him to be the moment the postseason starts, be that play-in or anything else, although we don't want to be in the play-in, of course. We expect this Jimmy Butler to become more combustible and this Miami Heat team to follow suit. I mean, I have no disturbances in my faith that this Miami Heat team will still somehow, some way end up in the conference finals at the very least.
Right. Because here's the thing, like, let's look at the Celtics team real quick. I don't think there's anyone on that. Yeah, there's definitely nobody that can stop Jimmy. All right, like Tatum. Okay, what's he gonna do against Jimmy? All right, he ain't gonna do nothing. Jalen not gonna do nothing, and Drew Holiday not gonna do nothing either. Because y'all saw firsthand what he did to him last year against the Bucks. Like, there was nothing he could do. Like, the dude was out there saying he owned him in the middle of game 5 on his own turf and everything. Like, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about how Jimmy feels, and I know they're good friends, so don't think it's beef or anything, of course. Like, y'all know it ain't. But like, if y'all
That's just hoops, though. That's just hoops.
yeah, exactly. And the truth is that Jimmy looks at Drew like the way how a fat man looks at food. All right, like, that dude is not scared whatsoever when he sees that dude. If you think he's gonna put the clamps on Jimmy, I don't know what the heck to tell y'all, bro. Because y'all don't just let a man come onto your own turf like that and beat y'all the way how Jimmy did, bro. 42 points he dropped on him in that game after having 56 points the previous game, okay? And he did that despite the fact that they was down, because he not one of these front-running losers who's going to be, up by 20 points and want to talk his talk. They was still down by 5. We didn't know if they was going to win the game yet, but he was still talking as if they was
Jimmy knew.
Mm-hmm. He was still talking that talk, and he eventually led them to a victory and then waved goodbye to the crowd, as we ended up seeing not too long after that. That's who Jimmy Butler is, and I'm not scared as long as he's doing his thing. Nobody is stopping Bam too, okay? He's going to see barbecue chicken by the time it's time for him to step up to someone like friggin' Kristaps Porzingis, so there's that. And to any of y'all who's trying to push the agenda, oh, well, Bam is scared of Robert Williams. Well, they went and traded that bum. So what's he got to be scared of now? So if that was even true, like I said, it's not, because Bam held his own last year against the Celtics. So, complete BS from that point. But overall, like, there's nothing that can stop this squad. And we're talking about how Jimmy finna cook, Bam finna cook, Spo finna cook too. Because what the heck does Joe Mazzulla of all people have against a guy like Eric Spoelstra? Nothing, So overall, man, like, this Celtics squad, like I said before, I'm gonna give them their flowers because they've been playing incredible basketball this year. There's some insane stats they've been pulling up. They mentioned how they was, I think, the only team in NBA history to blow out 3 teams by like 50 points in one season. So I'll give them their flowers there. But playoffs, I don't know how much I can believe in them just yet. If they beat us, shout outs to y'all. Y'all be the team that y'all supposed to beat in the playoffs. But all I know is y'all got zero excuses. So I don't want to hear none of it. All right. Because we didn't make no much moves, bro. We was supposed to get Dame. It didn't happen. So, everyone was counting us out. But y'all went and y'all made y'all moves. Y'all got Porzingis, y'all got Drew. Y'all went out there and made all types of moves left and right. And y'all was then starting to preach to everybody y'all had 4 All-Stars. So I don't want to hear nothing about it come playoff time. All right. If y'all beat us, congratulations. Go beat Denver or whoever is in the finals. But if y'all not beating Miami, I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear nothing. I want to hear nothing about Jason Tatum's ankle, and God forbid anything happens, because I want a fair series so I can push my agenda peacefully. But if let's say the same scenario that happened last year, where y'all crying about JT's ankle in Game 7 happens this time around, I don't want to hear none of that, because from, like I said, y'all have apparently 3 other All-Stars on that squad that could carry the slack if JT goes down. So I want to see your 3 other All-Stars, your Jaylen Brown, your Derek White, your Kristaps Porzingis step up for, someone like a Jason Tatum if y'all team is apparently that talented. Because y'all can't say it one way and then completely change it up the other way around like y'all did last year, where y'all went from having the most well-rounded roster in the league to now, oh, well, if it wasn't for JT's ankle, we would have beaten y'all. Because let's be freaking for real right now. Is there something you want to say, Kay, before we move on?
No, I think you said it all, Joe.
But yeah, man, I mean, overall, man, take a deep breath. We gonna be fine. I mean, and K, you know this better than everyone else. Like, I wish could make it for this episode, because he be preaching the same thing that we be talking about every now and then. Like, this squad, man, it's really Boston that scares me, and I don't even want to say they scare me, because I feel like that's such an intense word to use, but like, they concern me in a way, because it's the Celtics and we mentioned the talent, but there's not a single team outside of that I look at and it's like, oh shoot, I don't know what the Heat finna do against them. Like, it's really them, and then you go into the finals and play a team like, a Denver, or if they can't do it, maybe
definitely Denver and Boston. But we talked about it with Boston. It's like Boston shoots so many threes, and they count on getting the threes up. And in order to get the threes up, the game is typically back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But we know in the playoffs, where the game slows down, it actually doesn't lend itself towards the game that Boston wants to play, because they're not going to get as many possessions anyway. So they're going to have to make better use of the possessions and attempts that they get, which for me is not only going to play into the Miami Heat's hand in that they want to play a more grimier game, as Michael Porter Jr. said last night. They're grimy, but it's also going to put them in a position where making those shots at a premium. And I think, as we spoke about, when you're tighter, for lack of better terms, things such as 3-point shots get harder. So I like the Miami's. Wait a minute. I like the Miami Heat's chances. I like the Miami Heat's chances, bro. You crazy.
I mean, yeah, man. Like, overall, bro, I believe in this team. I think we have what it takes to get it done. I just need Jimmy to get his ring, bro, because it's like, I don't know how much time we got left with Jimmy playing at this type of level. And it's like, okay, we didn't get Dame, move on. Like I know everyone talk about F Joe Cronin this, F Joe Cronin that, but like at the end of the day, none of it changes anything. So for me, I just want to see us still like go out there and get a championship because the time is running for Jimmy, bro. And I know people get stressed out because I've seen a lot of people mention, oh well, if Jimmy played like this in the regular season in the playoffs, then we would probably be the one seed, blah blah blah. Well, we had the one seed a couple years ago and we lost in the conference finals. And we lost 3 games in that series against Boston here in Miami. So if y'all's concern is home court advantage, I don't know what to tell y'all about that. Another thing to mention is that for this Heat squad, like, and Kay, you mentioned this on the phone earlier. Like, Jimmy's a guy that's not trying to show everything he got in his bag right now in the regular season. He wants to save that come playoff time. And if he wants to do it, by all means, do what you got to do. Because you know what? Last year we finished as the 8th seed going into the playoffs, meaning that we had to play the tougher competition first instead of preferably having to play an easy team, whether if it's like, well, the Hornets aren't a playoff team, but like, playing like a Hornets team or just someone that's subpar where it's like you could easily beat them in 4 or 5 games. You don't have to think about it. We weren't put in that situation. We had to go against the team with the best record in the East. We found a way to beat them in 5. We had to go against the Knicks, who, they scrappy. I'll give them that. And you know what? They want to talk about Bam injuring all them players. Meanwhile, Jimmy had to deal with the rest of the regular season rest of the season, postseason
After
with
the
the sprain
postseason
ankle.
with the Josh Hart leg sweep.
Yeah, that's why. And listen, all things aside, and I'll actually let me just wrap up my point. Then I'll say this, and then we will go into Boston, take care of business there, winning Game 7 at TD Garden, which people always call Boston a very hostile environment to play in, and I agree with it because their fans, they go chaotic and they always there supporting their teams. And I ain't gonna, say what most people claim they do at the arenas and what words they specifically say at the players to throw them off their game.
I
But
mean, it's just So I was listening to a podcast today hosted by Lou Williams and Spank Horton, a comedian. They're really cool, really good friends, and of course everybody know who Lou Williams is. And he was kind of hinting at it. He was like, nah, it's like that in Boston. He was like, not only can they got the accent, but he was like, they can really talk that shit and they mean it. And he was like, and Utah's another one of those places. He was like, Utah, you really feel like you ain't supposed to be there? He literally said when it comes to Boston and Utah, those are 2 places that he literally just went for 2 or 3 hours to do his job and get the hell back on the plane.
yeah,
Because they do everything you think they say that shit.
right. So overall, man, like the Heat, bro, I'm not stressed. I don't care about the record. I low key, and I know low key kind of stands against what I've mentioned the Heat has been able to do. Would I like them to get a convenient spot in the standings? Of course I would, because I do want to see the Heat try to go through a more lenient road or whatever. That's why I've low key been pushing for them to kind of get the 6th seed, because the Cavs and Bucks would be food in the first 2 rounds, and then you would play Boston in the conference finals, which I feel like it's the only other stage for that type of matchup, bro. It's like when you got 2 of the best wrestlers, for like wrestling and stuff. You want them to compete at WrestleMania, bro. You're not trying to save them for some random episode of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Put it on WrestleMania and let them do their thing there. Let them put on the usual classic that they've always been able to put on right on that stage. So, the first 2 rounds, save it for the food, save it for the appetizers and stuff. And let's get ready for the actual main course, main meal, whatever they call it, come the conference finals. And then, if God is willing and we able to beat them, that final matchup against Denver or whoever makes it out, from the West. So that's all I gotta say about it. Any final words, Kay?
Nah, man.
All right, so we talked a lot about that. So overall, take a deep breath, Heat fans. We're gonna be fine. Don't let this losing streak misguide you by any means. And speaking of that losing streak, it's time to break it. All right, because I ain't gonna be doing this much longer, bro. Because like I said, the Heat gonna be fine, but I just don't need this losing streak because I want to go on Twitter every now and then. I can't go on Twitter because it's bad for my mental health when people saying, "Oh, the contending Heat just lost to the Wizards or they lost to this team." Okay, I want to go on Twitter every now and then without having to fear that. Okay, because I can't keep going on the mute word section and just say mute Miami, mute Heat, mute Jimmy, mute Butler, and then mute Bam Adebayo if he doesn't have a good game. I had to mute his name during that whole slump he had. So I don't want to do that, bro. I want us to have a good win so I can unmute everyone's names and retweet all the Heat propaganda I see on the TL. But I can't because right now we on this losing streak. So let's end that, Miami Heat. Let me be able to unmute all the words and see everyone's names, fearlessly without having to see any slander, on that exact same post that they get mentioned in. So it's the Pistons. Handle business, all right? Y'all were already that team, as Kyle Kuzma put it, that lost to the Wizards. I don't want y'all to be that team that ends up losing to the Pistons as well. Okay, one team is enough, but not both. So handle business in both games. I don't care. It could be a back-to-back or whatever. Handle business against this squad, and let's keep the ball rolling because this is a 4-game road trip. And, I can't say much because I know we playing, I think, who on this road trip? Philly and Cleveland, or
Philly and Cleveland? Yep.
all right. So Philly and Cleveland, I won't underestimate, even though Sixers don't got Embiid, but like these two games right here, they are food for y'all. Take it and keep the ball rolling. All right. I don't want to see nothing about we split those two games and then go into Philly. No. Win these two games and then let's go to Philadelphia. Simple as that. Okay, what about you?
Look, man, usually you would say the best recipe for a losing streak is a game against the Washington Wizards. That's typically what we would say, right? But the best recipe for a losing streak that included a loss to the Washington Wizards is back-to-back games against the Detroit Pistons. And here's the thing about it. Not only do you get to face a Detroit Pistons squad that just is the Detroit Pistons, but then you get to go to Philly and face a Joel Embiid-less Philadelphia 76ers squad. So my thing is this. The Miami Heat have 4 absolute winnable games across their next 4 games. 4 road games, as Joel insinuated. And that starts this Friday and this Sunday against the Detroit Pistons, who I fully expect the Miami Heat to come in and get 2 good wins off of. Listen, they should have beat the Nuggets on Wednesday night. Yeah, I said it. They should have got stops on Reggie Jackson and should have at least made it a closer game. It should have only been a 3-point game, regardless if the Nuggets had won it. And I feel like that mentality that they had in that game, although they shot horribly, 23% from 3, they only lost the game by 12.
As we mentioned,
Jimmy wasn't Jimmy. Right. They only lost the game by 12, but the Nuggets scored 16 more points from the 3-point line, and the Miami Heat shot below the floor. Again, 23%. If they shoot anywhere near their average, that's a different game. I promise you. So I feel as though they have a little something to motivate themselves, which is this losing streak. Not that they should need it, but they do. And going in against a team like the Detroit Pistons that, for lack of better terms, have sucked this year. I mean, look, man, don't play around with it. Go in there, get your 2 wins, make them 12-55, and go home. Well, to Philly.
Yeah. Don't play with y'all food, and let's go from there. And Philly game, I don't know what Kyle Lowry gonna have in store for us, but be ready. Be ready for like a Kyle Lowry 30-point triple-double or something. And y'all better still get the win regardless. I don't care. I don't want what Jay Rich pulled against us a couple years back. All right. Terry better play good in that game too, because some folks might look at that and be like, oh, well, clearly they traded the wrong player in that deal. So I don't want to hear none of it. Like I said, I want to be able to go on Twitter freely after the game and not have to go on my burner account that has no basketball on TL because I had to completely censor it for the sake of my sanity, bro.
You got a burner account?
Yes, bro. It's just some pop culture and all that other stuff because I want to be able to look at stuff without having to have my day get ruined because someone wants to mention that Jimmy only had 15 points against Denver, bro. Like, because people gonna mention, they're gonna be like, oh, Jimmy says it's that time, and then he puts that stat line there, and then it's like, okay, y'all gonna piss me off. So I gotta go on the. It's kind of like what do they call it when the people go in that place before their city gets bombed, like a safety bunker or whatever it's called. Like,
bro, that's all right. Let's move on, bro. Move
it's
on.
a safety
Move
bunker
on.
for me, bro.
So basically, My man just said his burner account is like a doomsday shelter.
Yes.
Is your burner account stocked with batteries and canned goods and like all of the movies ever? Like the Marshala Ali flick from Netflix. Did you watch that, by the way? Anyway, needless to say.
Say that again, K, that final words.
No, I was just saying needless to say, and then I muted on purpose because I
listen, man. Like, don't have me go back to my burner Miami Heat, bro. I don't want to look at that again until the end of the season when there's nothing basketball.
I'm gonna create a parody account called Jules Burner.
Okay. Yo,
and I'm gonna use your display image. And I'm gonna put Heat versus the World in the banner. It's gonna be so funny. Coming soon.
Man, but overall, Heat, please don't make me go back to my burner, bro. I'm trying to enjoy Twitter on my actual TL and not have to censor it because something bad happened. All right, I can't deal with it. It's not good for me mentally. I know what y'all are capable of, but they don't. These brainless people out here, so they gonna spew their nonsense, and I can't handle it because even though I don't believe it's true what these folks saying, even when they try to diss Jimmy and all that, I still don't like seeing it on my TL, bro. Like, I can't do it. So aside from that, bro, I mean, I feel like we kind of hit on everything. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up, K?
Nah, man, that's it. Miami Heat gonna get 2 back-to-back wins against Detroit Pistons before they then go get 2 more wins against Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. You heard it here first, baby.
Bet. So with that all being said, man, thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode of Heat vs. the World. Make sure to follow K on Twitter at K_said_K. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Make sure to follow Heat vs. the World on all platforms at HVTW Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And bro, man, we got so much content heading our way, and hopefully I'll be back in my usual setup. Sorry if I look like a ghost in today's pod, because right now my lighting ain't good. But
absolutely. Why he apologize for my hair too, man. I'm out here looking like a ragamuffin, but Joel called me in off the bench, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna shoot my shot. Like, they ain't gonna talk to me like they talk about Jimmy Butler. But speaking of the content we got coming, man, we got some more special stuff. Something a little off sports topic. You may have to do a little work to find it. But if Joel keep working with me, I promise you we're going to try to bring you something special from a personal and a collective standpoint. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, rocking with us. Keep rocking with me is my whole point of saying that spew. Because like I said, got a little something a little more personal, a little more intimate, and a little more outside of the box coming at you guys. Like I said, y'all just make sure Joel keep working with me and be patient with me. Go ahead, Joel.
Yes, sir.
You know I'm good for a couple of things, and cutting you off in the middle of your sentences, whatever.
Hey, man, so it's good, bro. So aside from that, bro, Miami Heat, we believe in y'all still. Let's end this losing streak and let's go win this championship. Aside from that, hit my music because we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.